nationalism is dead. Like it is dead. Like, and it's a hard
Yeah.
thing to get over, but
Well,
like it is.
Kenny fucking did Homeland, and we haven't heard anything else about it other than the claim to fame was splitting off from PA. Haven't
It's
heard a
cr
peep out of him.
like it's fucked up. It's like there must have been people like, can you imagine like in the feudal times there were people who were still holding on to feudalism, and like feudalism died. Like we had liberalism and all that shit, but like the same is happening now. It's like ethno nationalism is dead, and I don't like to fucking say it, but it is dead. Like it's fucked up to say, Geralt, but it is dead.
So I've just been following Phill Nye the last few days, and he's been telling everybody that nationalism is pointless. The masses don't care about nationalism. The institutions are all compromised, and he said all the stuff about how the elites are trying to get us to watch pornography, and how they're moving to this like automated society, and you get the just sort of this dystopian eat the bugs, live in the pod sort of vision of what the future is going to be like. And I just have to say that it's wrong. I took some notes, so I'm just going to read them here. He says that God has left people's lives. We're in a secular society, not just an atheistic society, but a society where people don't even care about whether or not God exists or doesn't exist. And sure, like the public is demoralized. They have a lot of issues that Phill and his friend go on about ad nauseum. All right, I also live in the world. I also know people. I've seen family members degenerate. I've seen people in my real life degenerate. I've seen a lot of people just like straight up ruining their lives over this stuff. But you need to get rid of this. I'm just being real with you here. You really needed to just accept the fact this stuff isn't real. Okay, there isn't any sort of spiritual realm or anything like that, and that is, as Karl Marx says, that is an opiate of the masses. Okay. The masses, of course, probably need religion to function, but that is, that is the masses. The masses cannot mentally live with not having some sort of purpose, or not having some sort of guidance in life. I think as nationalists, it's very important that we just sort of abandon religion in the same way that we abandon libertarianism. And the reason why I say that is just because it really muddies your thinking about things. It really gets you to think about things in these sorts of like magical ways, and it gets you away from thinking mechanistically and thinking about cause and effect. That's all I mean by mechanistic, or that's all that is meant by mechanistic thinking. It's just cause and effect, right? You use objects, right? You say that, like thought is not like some sort of metaphysical magic or whatever. It's just a bunch of objects moving around, as an example. Or in the case of magnets, there's no magical field, right? There's no magical one-dimensional space-time going on there. It's just a bunch of ropes that are touching each other and, pressing against one another, repelling against one another. So that's like the materialist worldview, and it's very important as a nationalist to see the world accurately and rationally, and not to, to live in the realm of what you want it to be, right? We have to start. When I was in the mental hospital, okay, they told me repeatedly, you have to start from the world as it is and not as you would like it to be. Okay, you can't go in wanting, expecting to succeed or expecting to get everything that you want out of life. Like, you really just have to start from the world as it is. And I do like that Phill is trying to be realistic, and he's trying to start from the world as it is to some extent. But you really need to go all in, okay? And I think you also need to slow it down just a little bit when you jump to conclusions about nationalism and the future of technology, because it is a little bit fantastic. And that's what I want to get into next is Phil's futurism. Phill engages in futurism, where he basically just makes a bunch of projections about what's going to happen in the future and imagines like the worst case scenario of like people living in pods and being having a social credit score, having artificial intelligence rule humanity or whatever. Like, this is not very this is not a very smart way of looking at technology. Okay, this is a very normie view of technology that just sort of like telling stories about technology without actually establishing them. And this is why I keep saying, Phill, you really need to read David Edgerton, okay? Because technology is really, really, really complicated, okay? And we place way too much emphasis on invention and practically no emphasis whatsoever on usage. We don't even have a proper account of invention. We just sort of tell stories about technology. We just say stuff like, oh, well, in the 1920s, women got vacuum cleaners and they got, washing machines, so they did a lot less housework, and that meant that they could become feminists, okay? And or enter the workforce or whatever. And that's not true. Women actually statistically did more work over the 20th century than they did previously. So they did a lot more housework after those inventions were made, and as opposed to less. So that's just a good example. And if you read Edgerton, you'll realize that like all of history has been storytelling about technology, like saying that the airplane would end wars, that there's a fourth industrial revolution, and blah 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 blah. It's all futurism, okay? It's making the assumption too that it's like technological progress is infinite or something, and that's just an assumption, okay? Technological progress it'll just end wherever it ends, okay? It's a bunch of technology is a bunch of objects, okay? You have gadgets on one hand, which are objects that you can use to do things, and on the other hand, you have innovations, where it's the manner in which you interact with objects, okay? And that's all it is. There's nothing special about it. It's not some sort of sacred geometry. It's not like it's going to bend the laws of physics or anything. I mean, if you familiarize yourself with Gaudy, you'll quickly realize that Moore's law has its limits. Like, we're getting very close to the end of Moore's law. There's no subatomic realm. That's all a bunch of nonsense. The subatomic realm is just a bunch of objects that are interconnected. Okay, it's not. You can't break apart an atom into like billions of pieces of like magical particles and use those magical particles to like run supercomputer. Like, that's not real. That's made up. That's just the religion of our time. Okay, people have faith in human progress, and they believe in a magical quantum realm that will magically grant them everything that they want, and it's not real. Okay, it's total irrationality, like I don't even have to pull up any studies, any research to prove that that's nonsense, right? And and just so you know, Ted Kaczynski also is another nonsense person that you shouldn't be listening to. He was just a attention-seeking narcissist. He didn't even really care about the environment. He's openly talked about how he used to like litter in the woods and stuff. He would just like leave cans everywhere, and how he doesn't give a fuck about nature. And really, I mean, he just takes the hype and inverts it. He's not really like a rational thinker with regards to technology. He's just sort of reading headlines and then telling stories about the headlines. Now, Phill has also said that porn is free because it's part of the depopulation agenda. Okay, well, this contradicts the idea that you need people to have demand. Okay, so that goes against the interests of the elites to some extent, and I don't really think there's a lot of evil hand rubbing here. I am aware of Apollonian Germ's work. I am aware of all this covert CIA conspiracy stuff. Not to put it down as conspiracy, but just to say like I'm aware of Joseph Bronsky's idea of the patriciate, right? That real power rests in a small number of people, right? And that those small people engage in conspiracies, blah blah blah. Okay, but they're not like you're kind of deifying them. You're kind of treating them as all powerful, all knowing, omnipotent. It's sort of the same thing that Wignets do with Jews, like kind of imagining that everything is a Jewish plot, everything is a Jewish conspiracy. Jews are always 2 steps ahead of the goyim, So you're kind of being like that, okay? And it's you have to start with people as animals, okay? That's what people are. People are animals, very, very smart animals. But at the end of the day, they're just animals, and they are fallible, okay? And these people at the top of the hierarchy, they're just sort of like figuring out like what's in their interests, what's best for humanity, and they think that they're helping humanity. Just so you know, they think that we should have a smaller society. It's a little that's not so destructive to the environment. That's not creating harmful emissions that are gonna like roast the planet alive or whatever. They're actually trying to help you. They actually are trying to help you. Like when they talk about all the stuff with bugs or eating bugs, like it's not because they're evil and they want you to be just like poor loser, okay? Like Mark, like I'm sorry, but people like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, who are genuinely narcissistic people, okay? Like you can actually like dig into their past. They are narcissistic people. They are very selfish. They lie all the time. But they're not saying to themselves, yeah, fuck everybody, fuck all humanity. I hope that everybody's poor. I hope that I'm just like the greatest person who ever lived and blah, blah. Like, it's true to a small extent, but, they human beings require surrogate activities to live a fulfilling life, okay? And money is not the only thing that they care about, okay? It's, people like Bill Gates actually are trying to help humanity, even if they are, they do really shitty things. They make stuff up. They do blah, blah, blah. I do think that they are to some extent, trying to help people. And I think that the average elite is some sort of futurist who believes in human progress and wants to help humanity and wants all the praise that comes along with that, wants all the attention and adulation and narcissistic supply, right? But it's a caricature. It's a caricature of what these people are trying to do. What they're trying to do is really stupid. It is really ignorant and stupid and hateful, but, that's just the way people are. People are just retarded, okay? People are just retarded. They're narcissistic. That's the way that they are. They're selfish, okay? But they think that they're doing good, and they want to help in some way. You know, that's just the way people are, okay? So pornography, that's just a business, okay? That's a business that was allowed to happen. A lot of shady people allowed that to happen for their own interests or whatever. I don't really think it's some plot. I know that the Israelis have used pornography as a weapon, but does that mean that the reason why we have pornography is because they want us to not have sex and not, you know, have kids? And, you know, I don't know if that's true. I think that's just speculation. And I don't think that the average neoliberal or whatever would say, like, yeah, I want to violate human rights by preventing people from having children, right? I think that they would at least want people to be responsible about children, or something that doesn't, again, violate human rights. Yeah, but also porn, he keeps saying that porn is free, right? You know, it's free because it's, you know, they want you to be... No, porn is not free. Okay, let me make that perfectly clear. Porn is not free, okay? Porn is a billion-dollar industry. Porn generates thousands of dollars of revenue, probably per video, through aggressive, high-risk advertising, okay? There are so many ads that if you click anywhere on the screen, you'll have a pop-up and you'll jump to the next website. And, you know, that's what's, I believe is called high-risk advertising. And it's like, there's a lot of money in it, but it's, you know, it's always in like really shady sites, like, you know, like if you want to like torrent some sort of like software or something, you come to some like creepy, buggy website, and it's got all kinds of high risk ads. But yes, the elites are all powerful. They have all the institutions. They have all that, but you know, just because that they're more powerful than us, just because they're in a position that's stronger, that doesn't mean that, like, they're going to be stronger forever, okay? It's just, again, that's just an assumption. You're making a prediction, and anything can happen, okay? Anything can happen. I know that we live in an age of, or it seems that we live in an age of low political potential, okay? You know, we live in this sort of consumer society. All right, but just because we live in a consumer society, just because we don't have the institutions, doesn't mean that we can't win. You also have to remember that the elites are degenerating too. I mean, if you look into like, you know, the children of like Russian elites, for example, like they're like homos on Instagram, like posting all sorts of nonsense, like TikTok videos when everybody else is dying in the war. Okay, like, the elites are really degenerating. They, if you remember Sam Bankman-Fried or whatever his name is, the crypto scammer, you know, that guy was in a, you know, polyamorous relationship. He was totally depressed all the time. He was just sort of living like a pig, basically. He was sort of living in this, you know, really depressed, you know, drunken and possibly abusive, you know, lifestyle. I mean, you know, or look at Hunter Biden, look at, you know, like, you know, the Biden family. I mean, just a lot of terrible stuff is going on in these people's lives. And, you know, they are certainly not thinking very hard about metapolitics or anything like that. I don't really think that our enemies think very deeply about anything. Okay, they have very like really normie views about everything. They just have very normified views about society. They have very normified views about you know, like technology and culture and economics, and they're not very creative. They don't have any interest in experimenting. And they're arrogant, okay? So that's a major weakness, okay? That's a major weakness when your opponent is arrogant, is careless, is decadent, is depraved, okay, you need to leverage that weakness. Okay, you need to educate yourself. Nigga, you gotta educate yourself. You know, you have to educate yourself and, you know, experiment with new ideas. And not just new ideas from other people. You got to experiment with your own ideas, with new ideas that haven't been talked about before. You need to start asking questions. You know, that's what I do. Every free day I have, I go out to the library, or I write in my car. Right, if I'm at the library all day and the library closes, I go in my car and I write. Okay, and I write till maybe midnight. Okay. It's very imperative that you try to contribute in some way intellectually, okay? Because we are out of ideas. The 20th century is still hot on everybody's mind. Everybody wants to talk about Joseph Stalin. Everybody wants to talk about these old dead philosophers like Julius Evola and these other people that are long gone. These other people that were born when there wasn't internet, right? You know, these people that fought this awful, retarded war, you know, that we still have to talk about to this day. It's just like, you know, we need to forget about the 20th century, and we need to start in the 21st century. We need to talk about how the world really works. Okay, not just the way that we want it to work, the way it really works. Okay, and that's why I keep emphasizing. Karl Marx was totally right about religion. Okay, it is an opiate. It gets you to imagine things that are not there. It gets you to think about the deeper questions of life in a very vague and metaphysical, magical sort of way. Okay, it's just such an awful way of looking at the world. If you're a nationalist, if you're a normal person, I don't care what you believe. The masses don't matter, Phil. The masses do not matter. What the masses believe is of no concern to us because they have no political potential. They have no political agency whatsoever. Okay, and I believe Joseph Brodsky has talked about this at length, okay? And you should really become familiar with Joseph Brodsky's work. I keep telling you about him, and I keep suggesting lots of other thinkers to you, and you don't explore those options. You're just so totally blackpilled, and you just want to, play music or, just, fuck around or whatever. And I can't, dictate your life. But if you care about nationalism, if you care about educating people about socialism, you should really do more, and not just do live streams. I mean, do actual scripted videos, right? That I could share to other people, because I've always been sharing your work. Just so you know, I've always been sharing your videos. But these live streams, they're so long. They're very hard to archive. They're very hard to share. People won't watch them because of how long they are, and people do not watch live streams. People watch videos. Okay, it doesn't make much money, but people watch videos. Those are digestible. A 10-minute video like this, which isn't even scripted, by the way. All I did was I just cut out anything that, I shouldn't have said or was a mistake. That's all I did in this video. I didn't even script it. I had, a few notes, and that's it. Okay? And when you look at ancient man, you look at our pre-Neolithic days, and you look at the kinds of animals that we had to live with. You had the short-faced bear. You had, the terror birds. You had mammoths. You had glyptodons. You had, saber-toothed cats and all kinds of really terrible animals. There were giant swans back then. Swans that were, as tall as your house. That actually lived back then. Okay, it was a very dangerous time for to be alive as a human. I mean, just look at the kangaroos that existed back then, and remember how territorial those animals are. Can you imagine a giant ass kangaroo chasing after you in the middle of the outback? You know, that's what humans used to deal with. And let me ask you a question. Why do you think those animals don't exist anymore? Because all these animals, just so you know, and I've done a lot of research on this, all these animals disappeared right around the time that modern humans came to the forefront. And that's very interesting. And a lot of people will say that's because of the ice ages and the glaciers receded. I don't believe that at all. Okay? I think the reason is because we killed all of them. Now, why did we kill all of them? How did we do that? Well, an animal is not very good at making predictions. Okay, it's able to predict a few things, but a human, there's no match. Okay, if you're fighting an elephant, or you're fighting an ox, a bull, or some sort of ferocious animal, that animal will move in a way that is predictable to us. Okay, the ox is not going to just stand on its two legs and kick us with its front legs because it figured out some sort of strategy. Okay, that doesn't really happen. It's because we have the ability to come up with strategies. We have the ability to make novel predictions. Okay, so knowledge is power. If your enemy moves in a predictable way, whereas you move in a way that is unpredictable to him, you have an advantage over him. And that is the problem of arrogance. That is the problem of not living in the world as it is. Okay? It makes you weak. It makes you an inferior specimen. So you have to be open-minded. You have to study. You have to spend all of your free time studying, and not just like methodically studying the things that you're supposed to study, like reading all of Lenin. Okay, like anything. Just study things that obviously study things that interest you, but try to make connections between things that are seemingly unrelated. Okay, that's where all the important new ideas are going to come from. They're going to come from the outside, not in an established field necessarily. Okay, like Gady, for example, comes completely out of left field, right? But yes, knowledge is really important. And of course, meeting people in real life is also really important. And I've actually done that. I've actually met nationalists in person many times, and I know lots of people around the area. And when you do that, you actually realize that nationalists are upwardly mobile. Yes, they're upwardly mobile. They're going places. They're making connections. They are doing things. They're actually getting things done. And Edward Dutton has written at length about this. Okay? These nationalists are set to become the elite based on fertility. And I'm not just talking about the general normie conservatives. He made it absolutely clear that there is an elite of nationalists that are breeding upward. Okay? And they are going to displace the elite, and they're going to be able to radically transform the culture because of their fertility rate. And that's really important. So don't be so black-pilled, because you never know what's going to happen. You may be overlooking things. So that's all I wanted to say. I think it's good that Phill expressed these opinions, just because I do think that it is worth criticizing the premise of nationalism politically. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that you can say about nationalism. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some people in this scene that everybody likes who are just horrible fucking people. Okay, and it does really, suck the life out of you to some extent, constantly finding out that another nationalist is some sort of degenerate, and even myself, I'm not the most clean person, okay, we'll say, and there's a lot of things that I can improve in my private life, but nationalism is not a hopeless cause. Not until we're all fucking destroyed, okay? Until then, we have to keep strong, and we have to keep studying. Studying is the most important thing that you can do as a nationalist. Spreading ideas, coming up with specifically new ideas, okay? And I don't care what they are. I don't care if, they're to some extent liberal or whatever, Jewish or whatever. We have to be open-minded, okay? We can't afford to not be open-minded. I'm not saying that we should just accept any idea that is degenerate or whatever. Like, I'm just saying consider things. Don't just jump to conclusions. Don't just be like, I'm the base Chad and I'm ignorant, so that means that I'm cool. That's so annoying. Okay, like stop getting so angry when people disagree with you about basic things. Okay, like I talk to people all the time and they get so angry and so personal when you simply disagree with them on a simple point. Okay. In all this worship of e-celebs like they're your daddy, that's also unhealthy. But the battle's not lost till it's lost. And there's a lot more things that have not been talked about that we have to talk about before we can confidently say that there's just no point. All right. So that's all I want to say here, and I hope Phill has a very nice. Oh, they don't have 4th of July over there. Well, I hope you have a nice barbecue, all right, and be sure to grill some stuff on the grill, like some short ribs or some. I'm gonna make brisket, hopefully. So that's all I want to say. You guys have a nice day.